Oh man, I did not check my Wi-Fi, guys. I need to double check that I am square. Otherwise, what is up? Let's see what that looks like with a little extra light on there. A little shade. Well, anyway, what's up? Doing a little live stream. It is Friday night before Easter and before my 2-year-old's birthday this Sunday. So thought I'd just hop on here Friday night for a little bit, talk about the giveaway from last weekend. I did pick a winner for that, so just wanted to announce that if he happens to hop in on this stream, that's awesome. If not, no big deal. I will contact him. I did just draw the winner earlier today. Haven't had a chance to make a post about it yet. Didn't have a chance to make a post and a preview about this live stream tonight either, so nobody knows that I'm streaming right now. Looks like one person has just hopped in here so far. How are you doing tonight? Hope you're well. Ryan, what up, man? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Cheers. I've got a nice fat pour of some red wine that I'm drinking tonight. This is a little Zinfandel. What's going on? Why you gotta go saying that, Justin? I'm not even gonna repeat that. I'm not gonna say that out loud, but don't go saying that. I don't have it. That CV ain't got me. Man, this desk here is a mess. Literally like from our last stream. I haven't been down here. I'm not gonna say it. J-Dog, how you doing tonight, man? Coronavirus. I don't have it. All right. Nor should it be a big deal that people are talking about it. So I've got a few things that I'm bringing down to just organize, put back in. Yeah, I said it. Ryan says, I'm good. Cheers, just having a rum. Right on. Trying to stay warm on these cold what now? Cold spring nights. Man, it is not cold here. We get such wild fluctuation of weather here in Colorado. It is it's like 60 degrees right now, but it'll be a high of like 65 tomorrow. Nice spring day, and then it is going to dip and we're going to get some snow on Sunday, and we're going to have cold weather Sunday through Wednesday before it jumps back up, and we'll have like a steady week's worth of weather in the 60s. So hit 70 degrees Fahrenheit in Washington. That is awesome, man. Yeah, it's really good for warming the water temps up, getting the fish to start moving on up if they didn't start doing that already. So I am hoping to get out and do a little bit of fishing here in the next week because I didn't do any this week, and that's saddening, of course. Did we talk about the Megabass Dark Sleeper last time, guys? This is a bait that we should talk about at length at some point if we haven't already. Justin says, can't fish. It's closed till May. I understand if you can't, if boat ramps are closed and stuff like that, and that is brutal. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have a date set pretty soon for when places are supposed to open in the future. But until now, I mean, you just got to pond hop and go on foot, do what you can, fish the banks, man. Got to go somewhere, right? Ryan says, I wish it was like +4 here. So like 40. It's like 25 now. Ryan, are you in Canada? +4, huh? How did I not know where you're from, Ryan? Or did I know that? We talked at length last time about how expensive baits are. Yeah. Okay, my bad, man. I knew you were from Saskatchewan. All right, well, Ryan, Justin, it's all illegal. Fish and Fame have been patrolling all over here every day. What? Meaning what? That like stay at home, you're being held to it. What are cops doing about that? If they catch you out? I mean, it seems like a bad idea for a policeman to approach somebody unless they're really, really doing something dangerous, right? Well, that's just my opinion. Anyway, if we didn't talk about the dark sleeper, yeah, let's do that real quick, guys. This right here, we can go for a walk, we just can't fish anywhere. That's absurd. Pretty crazy. I don't get that. I would consider running the risk of getting a ticket for fishing. Pretty crazy how this clear bait, you can see the lead weight just poured right into it. The hook. Megabass Dark Sleeper is a really simple bait. Technically speaking, it is overpriced for what you get at $6 a bait. It is just a soft plastic swim bait, but there's something about it, something about its action, and something about its versatility and its realism um, that makes it a really unique bait and one that's actually, I think, well worth the price, depending on what you're using it for. You know, this little one here, no problem, Justin. This little one here is 2.4 inches and weighs just a quarter ounce. Okay, you can fish this in really skinny, shallow water. You can fish this around the shad spawn. Um, when you're seeing fish blow up on bait, this is a decent option to throw. Also, just when the bait is really tiny or you've got clear water, high pressured situations, that could be a good option. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, this guy here, look at that size difference. This is a 1 ounce bait and I think it's 4 inches in length. Or maybe this is a 3.6, 3.8. I'm going to say 3.8. 1 ounce. This is one that you're really going to fish more like a jig or a goby, truly. You know, this bait is designed to look just like a goby and that top fin that hides the hook so well. Now, this bait is not nearly as weedless as it looks or as it is advertised to be. I've had a few that I've lost in very sparse light cover, just getting snagged up way too easily. But it does make it look a little bit more realistic. What you can do to make it just a little bit more weedless is barely tuck the hook point into one of these side fins, and it'll make it look just a little bit funny, but it will make it a lot more weedless. Okay, so something that I learned with that bait last year, I like this middle size, which is a 3 inch, and they have it in, I think, 3 different sizes. So this right here is a 3/8. This is like my most common size, where I'll fish it both ways. Okay, let it swim to the bottom and do its thing, because this tail has a ton of action on it. Um, Looks absolutely wild underwater, but then this bait swims really stable on a straight retrieve, and it also does really well when moved slowly. That tail is thin enough to where there's just a little bit of action. If you're dragging it across the bottom and it bumps a rock or something, you're going to get action out of that tail. So this is one where you can fish it any which way. Once you step up to a 1/2 ounce, it gets leaning a little bit more toward like a jig or a bottom feeding bait fish. 3/4 ounce, you know, then you're flirting with deeper water. You're just working the bait a little bit differently. So that 3 inch size you can get in 3 different weights, depending on how you want to fish the bait. Of course, there's a whole bunch of different colors. None of these really resemble American bait fish. You know, this is a Japanese bait. The Wakasagi is probably um, the most universal color. It's got a pearl pinkish belly, and then it's like this goldish yellowy color with some gold flake in it, with some orange, and probably the most realistic color of the bunch. They all look really good. You know, that sexy shad color is a good one too. So anyway, the Megabass Dark Sleeper is a good bait. I think it's going to be absolutely killer as a spawn bait. This darker, more bold color here just flips straight onto a bed and kind of hop it in place. And that tail doing its thing, you'll be able to get a good amount of action out of this bait without having to work it too hard. So that's pretty key in bed fishing. Aaron's Outdoor. I like those Megabass Dark Sleepers because you can get a really small size, like the 2.4 inch, and get it in the 3/8 ounce, which will really allow you to cast that tiny bait really far. Absolutely, man. I think the 2.4 and the 3/8 are both offered in a couple sizes. Like you can get this one in the quarter or the 3/8. You can get this one in the 3/4 or the 1 ounce. And then that middle size you can get in those 3 middle sizes, like the 3/8, 1/2, and 3/4. So good deal. It's been a really successful and popular bait since it came out a couple years ago, even though it is remarkably similar to a bait that's been out a number of years now. This being the live target Goby. Let me show you just from a profile standpoint how similar these baits are. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you. So you can see the fin placement is a little bit different. The fin size is a little different, but then you get these under fins that are exactly the same. The body shape, the head, the way it tapers is very similar. They're both Goby imitators. This is the live target Goby, maybe 3D Goby, or I don't know what it's called. But this comes in a 3-pack for like $10, and is a great bait. But of course, you get that totally exposed hook, and for whatever reason, once the Dark Sleeper came out, maybe it's a combination of Megabass doing a really good job at having a cult-like following and doing a really good job of marketing, as well as the fact that this is just, even if it's a little gimmicky, it's a cool feature that the hook is hidden in this top fin. I think people are just kind of a sucker for that type of thing. So Dark Sleeper sells for like $6 or $7 a bait. This live target Goby is like $3 or $4 a bait. But both are good smallmouth, slow bottom bouncing baits. Of course, as I said, you can fish that Dark Sleeper as a swim bait and work it quite a bit differently. So anyway, as you could see from the title of this video, we've got 2 things on the agenda. I wanted to talk about the Ned rig tonight, and just how much it's changed over the last couple of years. How many different baits are on the market right now, and how the sizes, the weights, and the profiles of the jig heads and the baits themselves have evolved. And I want to talk about like kind of where those fine lines are and what counts as a Ned rig. You know, because by definition, it's really just a jig worm. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the giveaway from last week. There weren't very many people on that stream or that watched it or entered. There were like 15 people who fully entered. So wanted to announce the winner of last week's giveaway for the 5 packs of soft plastics. Again, those soft plastics are the 6 Cents Ned Fry in the Oxblood color, the 6 Cents Clout in the Melon Dust color, the Zoom Trickworm in Green Pumpkin, Kitech Crazy Flapper 3.6 in the Green Pumpkin Watermelon, and a mixed pack of Guggenbait's Bandito Bugs. It's a mixed pack of Alabama Craw, Green Pumpkin, and Natural. So 5 packs of high quality soft plastic baits for one lucky winner. And that winner is Ron Holly. Ron was somebody who tuned in to the live stream for the very first time a couple streams ago. Said it was, I think, the first time he had ever been a part of a live stream. So pretty cool deal. His comment that he had left on that video was pretty lengthy. It said, "Hi, I tried to leave my comment last night, but couldn't. At the risk of dating myself, this streaming stuff is very new to me, but I'm getting there. Absolutely enjoyed every moment of the stream last night. 2.25 hours of getting my mind off of the virus. I learned more in those 2+ hours than I have watching scads of videos on YouTube. Fan-damn-tastic. Looking forward to getting back to normal to try some of those things. Thanks for a booster of sanity during these tough times." Ron. So Ron Holly is the winner of last week's giveaway, those 5 packs of soft plastics. Ron, if you're watching, say something right now. If you're not, I will send you a message here in the next day or two. Speaking of, so Matthias, there's the giveaway winner right there. Ryan says, so true. Well said, Ron. In Ron's comment from last week, yeah, we had a great time in that live stream. So speaking of giveaways and notifying the winners, we talked about this last week. My giveaway for the month of March on my Instagram page was not officially claimed. So this tackle box that I put together of spring fishing lures, I've got a pre-rigged weedless swim bait with an underspin blade on there, a jerk bait, a wobble head pre-rigged with a creature bait. I've got a bladed jig or vibrating jig, a lipless crankbait, and a medium diving wigglewort crankbait. A lot of reaction baits plus a pack of Zoom Super Flukes. And the winner did not claim his baits, did not respond to me, send me a message with his address and his info to claim his winnings. So I never decided what to do with these, and I still haven't fully decided. A couple of people suggested giving them to BJ, who was also new on the stream a couple of times ago and said that he's been fishing with his kids. He's got a couple kids, in their, I think he said like 9 and 13 or something like that. So we were joking about potentially giving them to BJ, but I still don't know what I'm going to do with those, whether I might repost it and be more organized in the giveaway and doing it on both Instagram and YouTube, because totally different deal, right? When I did it on Instagram, I had like 600 or 700 comments, and it was unlimited entries per person, different rules on how you enter. And so one guy wins out of those 700 comments, and that guy did not, I always tag them in a story post, notify them that they won, and tell them to send me a DM with their info. And for the last 8 months that I've been doing this, everybody's responded almost immediately, or at least within a day or so. And it's been a week with nothing but crickets. So I did not reach out to that guy to notify him aside from tagging him in those posts and starting the conversation via direct message. So anyway, not sure what I'm going to do there, but the winner here on Instagram was Ron, or on YouTube, for the packs of soft plastics that we did a week ago, is Ron Holly. So Ron Holly, I will get in touch with you. Brandon Finsterwald says, know of any bait casters that can handle a little Ned? You know, I am not really part of the BFS game yet, at least. I'm kind of interested in that. If you're really curious, you could get in touch with Jimmy from Roar Fishing, RAWR Fishing on Instagram. He is like a finesse guru, and I know he loves throwing finesse gear and tackle on bait casting equipment. Usually I would throw a Ned rig on spinning gear. Now, this kind of segues into tonight's conversation about the Ned rig and what counts as a Ned. It depends on what you mean by a little Ned. James Barron, the winner was Ron Holly, okay, for the 5 packs of soft plastics here on YouTube from last week's giveaway. Ron Holly. So, back to your question about throwing a Ned rig on a bait caster. A Ned rig, by definition, in my opinion, and if you were to read articles and watch interviews and read interviews from Ned Cady himself out of Kansas, who is the originator of this technique. I mean, he didn't invent it, but the Midwest finesse technique is the Ned rig essentially, and he just asked Z-Man to start producing the plastic for the technique, and then they named it the Ned rig. And Ned would tell you he throws it on a 1/32 or 1/16, like 90% of the time. He doesn't step up in weight, where some guys these days are throwing a 1/4 ounce, no problem. So you can find like Swagger Tungsten makes a Flanders Ned head that is a tungsten head, so it's going to be more compact, but you can get it in heavier weights, like a 1/4 ounce, and it will be close to the same profile as a standard, like 1/8 or 1/10 ounce Ned rig head, and it won't be oversized for a bait, typically speaking, right? And you could throw a 1/4 ounce Ned rig on a bait caster, on a lot of bait casters, right? The biggest head that I throw is this 1/6 ounce from Z-Man, and I rarely throw it. I throw the 1/10 ounce like 90% of the time. I find that it's a great middle road, right? It's lighter than an 1/8, but it's heavier than a 1/16. So you're kind of right in the middle there. And otherwise, I prefer to throw a 1/16 and keep it as lightweight as possible. That is what Ned Cady will tell you, is that this is a no-feel technique. It's not a bottom contact technique. So people are kind of changing the way that the Ned rig is fished, and what it was meant to do. There are a lot of different ways to retrieve the bait, but typically it is one that is supposed to just drift and glide around the bottom, not be one that is dragged or hopped and maintained bottom contact, if that makes sense. So yes, you can throw little Neds on bait casters, but I would throw something like the Daiwa Tatula SB, which is a bait caster made for lightweight finesse type of lures. You could throw an 1/8 ounce bait no problem on the SV. You just need a lighter rod, first of all, medium or medium light, ideally. And then you could use that SV reel, which is about $200 reel. You're not going to find it for much cheaper than that anywhere, the old model or the new. but that Tatula SV is probably one of your best bets. And yeah, it's got a great braking system. I actually have one of those reels. I use it for my light crankbaits, lighter weight jerk baits. So take a look at that one. BJ, what's up, man? Been looking for the show. BJ, I'm sorry to not get back to your comment until just now, but I am doing well tonight. Hope you are as well. I reviewed the information. The winner of the giveaway from last week was Ron Holly, and I was saying I'm still not sure what to do with the other giveaway items. Whether to give them to you or not, right? You had a pretty good chance of winning this giveaway, and I'm sorry to say that you did not win it this time, but stay tuned, keep coming back. I hope that there's not too many people on Instagram or YouTube who follow me just for giveaways. I hope that I can provide just a little bit more value than that. So regardless, thanks for being here, for hanging out, BJ. Good to see you in here. Justin, what are you doing? Are you sneezing over there, man? You better not give us the Rona. You keep your distance, bro. 6 feet at the very least. Brandon Finsterwald. Sweet thanks. No problem. All right, guys. So let's talk about the Ned rig, shall we? Brandon says, going to try a Z-Craw on a chatterbait tomorrow. I mean, Oklahoma water's finally starting to warm up a bit. Maybe just getting into spawn, really getting good. Justin, what are you doing coughing in the background? Now, don't you be coughing around here. All right, Brandon. Z-Craw on a chatterbait is a great idea. That's a good bait, right? I think the Z-Craw is just a great bait all around. Good on a swim jig, good on a chatterbait, good on a swing head, especially. Justin, you get out of here with that sickness. We don't want that around here. So yeah, I like that Z-Craw. Clear water, dirty water. And I like the profile. I really want to try the Z-Craw Junior. There are a lot of baits that I like a downsized profile that's not like super junior. That's a good topic to talk about right now, because I've showed you guys before, like, the new Rage Bug, for example, it's a baby bug. It's not a junior size. Here's the size difference. Black and blue Rage Bug, black and blue swirl baby Rage Bug. I mean, this is tiny. You can't even fish it in the same ways at all. So you have to think about this as a totally different bait. Whereas some baits, this is a 3-inch, right? It's absolutely super finesse, bordering on micro. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is that there are some baits, like the Guggen Baits Bandito Bug, for example, right? This is I think a 4-inch bait. So it is right at same size as the Strike King Rage Bug. 4-inch bait, great do everything type of bait. Texas rig, flipping bait, jig trailer, anything you want to do with it, and it will do well. Now, size up or down on this Rage Craw, and it's a significantly different profile. The Bandito Bug just released a brand new size. It is a junior size, You can only find them on Tackle Warehouse right now. They're not available anywhere else. Maybe on the Guggen Baits website. Who knows? But it is a 3.3 inch bait. So I'm really interested in that because I think it's not only going to be an awesome jig trailer in comparison to the standard Bandito bug. You're not going to have to trim off, you know, a half inch or 3/4 of an inch to make it the right profile. It's going to taper off properly and just be a better trailer in general. But it's also going to be a great small, kind of mini Texas rig type of bait. And so I'm really curious to see it and how it's different than some of these other tiny little baits that are already out, like the 2.8 inch Kitech Crazy Flapper. That is tiny. The 3-inch Rage Craw, that is tiny. The 3-inch Rage Baby Menace Grub, tiny. The 3-inch Berkeley Pit Boss, tiny, right? These are all really small baits that are made for not just finesse jigs, but bordering on micro jigs. These might fit a 1/0 hook on a good day, but really this is what blurs the line with a Ned rig, right? These are baits that are not designed to float, but fit the profile of a 3-inch soft plastic bait that could easily thread a tiny little jig head on it. So let's rig one up. For example, take a red jig head here. And we'll take a red, this is like Delta Craw, it's called. This is the Kitech Crazy Flapper. And it's crazy to rig. Shouldn't be, but just a little bit slippery right now. And voila. Ooh, look at how bright that is from the bottom, guys. And voila. That right there, it's not going to stand up, right? It's going to lay back down every time. But as you hop it, it's going to have tons of action, kicking, hit, and stop. So it's more of a drag and hop type of presentation, or lift and let it fall. So a little bit more aggressive of a presentation than a standard Ned rig would be. You're pretty much not going to dead stick this unless that's all you're going to do. You're going to let it fall. It's going to get some attention, and then you're going to let it sit just dead on bottom and hope that just a little bit of current or movement or a fish coming over and blowing on it is going to get it to move. But it's mostly going to be a visual presentation where then the fish are going to be interested and have to just try it out. So bait like this could be considered a Ned rig, right? You're using a Ned rig head in the Z-Man Finesse Shrooms jig head. This is a 1/16 ounce red head. The size hook rigged on this 2.8 inch Crazy Flapper. Deal, what do you think about that? Do you guys think that counts as a Ned rig? If you're using a soft plastic bait that is not made for the Ned rig, does it count as a Ned rig? Brandon says, I've had good luck with the Z-Craw and Chigger Craws Texas rig lately here in Oklahoma. Biggest bass so far has been from a crankbait this season. Cool. Right on. BJ says those soft plastics look amazing. Ryan, look at that concentration. Yeah, sorry. It does look like a fire craw, BJ. So I'm going to show you guys in a second. Going to try that for walleye, I think. They'll crush it. Said that's a Kitech? Yeah, man. Kitech Crazy Flapper. Okay. 2.8-inch Kitech Crazy Flapper. Really, really cool bait there. Okay. Very aggressive action, though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's got more action on it than, a Rage Craw does. It's got 4 appendages with, flanges on them. And this thing just kicks like you wouldn't believe. Peanut butter and jelly, look at that color. So, yeah, the Kitech Crazy Flapper is a wicked bait. And I love that just in this little box of finesse jig trailers that I've got an awesome balance of super aggressive in the Crazy Flapper from Kitech. Still really aggressive, but not quite as fast of a kicker. You get more flailing in the Rage Craw. And then you really get a medium action out of the Baby Rage Menace. This is a 3-inch bait. It's nice and fat still, though. And then you step down and out a little bit, and you get more of a dead action, slow-moving bait with that Pit Boss. I used to really like this bait. This is the Yum Craw Bug. Until I saw some underwater footage of it, and I think it's a little bit junk. It's fine on a jig. Definitely not Ned rigged though. Super realistic profile. Really like that. But it's hollow, first of all. And it's got a really funky dead action. When it falls over. It's not balanced whatsoever. Actually don't like that bait unless you use it on a finesse or micro jig that is super stable. You have to be careful about that. Another bait that needs a stable jig, but that I really like for more of a dead action in addition to that Pit Boss. This is a discontinued bait by Lucky Strike. Bass Magic is the brand, and this is called the Fighting Craw. Very, very hard to find bait. It seems like once a year, some people will find a few batches of them. So that dude over at Realistic Fishing just found some of these recently. Picked up a bunch for himself, which is awesome. I got these last year. Fished with them last year. Really, really like them. It's got a solid head, but then a hollow body. And these claws are hollow as well. This thing, it will not automatically stand up because it's got a heavy head. But if you put it on a mushroom head or you put it on a jig, this thing is going to have a sweet, sweet action. Those claws will stand straight up. So the Fighting Craw is a good one too. Last week I mentioned the Tiny Brush Hog from Zoom. It's a pretty wild one that I happen to also have in this box, along with 2 swim baits. I've got the 2.8-inch Striking Rage Swimmer. Got just a few packs worth of them all jammed in here, which I don't typically love to do. And then I've got a cut up pack of the Megabass Spark Shad in the 3-inch. This bait right here is hard to beat. Look at that tail just doing work as I'm not even moving the bait. It is got a perfectly flat top, hole shaped bottom, awesome fins, realistic eyes on it. This bait right here is one of the more sleeper soft plastic swim baits on the market, period. Doesn't matter how you work it or what size you're using. They make it in a 3, 4, 5, and 7-inch. I think that 7-inch might be discontinued soon, though, which makes me a little bit worried. Got it in the 5-inch here. I've showed you guys this bait before. I mean, look at that action again. Not moving it. The length of this tail, I mean, is part of what sets it apart. The quality of the soft plastic in here. You know, there's a ton of salt in here, and yet it's still surprisingly durable. These baits are really, really nice. These come in 5 to a pack in the 5-inch, and the 7-inch also super long tail with tons of action. 7 inches is a big bait. This thing is no joke. I've got this rigged on like a 9/0, could even be an 11/0 weedless VMC spin blade. And let me tell you, I think it's a 1/2 ounce hook on there, weighted hook, and I'm getting 2.3 ounces rigged. So this thing probably weighs, you know, between 1.5 ounces and 2 ounces unrigged. A little over 2 ounces no matter how you rig it, unless you're putting, you know, chopping the head off and putting an exposed jig head on there, in which case you might be using a much bigger head like this one from 6 cents, in which case the head weighs 1 ounce on its own. This is a 6 cents Divine Swimbait jig head in the 1 ounce and 8/0 size. So if you rig it like that, that's going to make the bait more like 2.5 ounces rig, maybe even a little bit more. Whereas that was what, 2.3, like so. So 7-inch, 5-inch, and 3-inch was absolutely micro sized. So pretty cool comparison. The Megabass Spark Shad is a good one. You know, the Japanese companies like Megabass and Jackal are really starting to play more in the soft plastics game, and I like that a lot. Everybody knows that Kitech has been a killer, has always put out good products, but, you know, some stuff sells better than others. Marketing plays a huge role, you know, the time and how you release the products. You know, there's this worm, for example, by Kitech. It's perfectly good. It's called the Salty Core Stick. Okay. Not sure if any of you have heard of this bait. It's really greasy, so it's getting my fingers a little nasty. But this bad boy, just like the Salty Core tube, is filled with salt. You wouldn't be able to tell unless I chopped this thing in half and showed you that the inside is not soft plastic, the inside is not hollow, but it is filled with salt. So each one of these baits is really heavy and has a different action than a soft plastic bait. It is awesome on a wacky rig. So 0.4 ounces, not the heaviest, but still coming in at 11 grams. This is a pretty heavy worm. So, like I said, awesome wacky rig bait, but really hard to find these days. So, Kitech has made a lot of products and has discontinued a number of them, and are still producing new baits every now and again too, or at least new sizes of a lot of baits that they have. Sorry I'm missing some questions. Brandon says, I searched for ChatterBait Trailers, found your video. Instantly subbed, and you went live 30 minutes later. Keep up the good work. Right on, Brandon. I appreciate you, man. That's awesome. BJ, hey, I want to let you know I'm a winner no matter what. Hell yeah, you are. Because I'm learning from you and the others, so I'm a winner, so thanks. BJ, you're a good guy. Appreciate you, man. No diggity on IG. Get out of here, Justin. That's hilarious. I'm new. Can you teach me how to fish? BJ, hey, you stay on here. You will? What? What's the name of that hard to find craw again? Brandon, it is called the Bass Magic Fighting Craw. And don't make me say it again because I don't want people looking it up too much. BJ, learn how to fish and what to use, I promise. Ryan says the Strike King Bitsy Craw has 0 action and it's so stiff. Yeah, dude. I have some of those somewhere, but honestly, it's a waste of your money, right? You can buy those at Walmart, like next to the jigs. They come in those tiny packs. They're little dead action, relatively hard, soft plastic trailers made for the Bitsy Bug, and they're way cheap, not good, right? The baits that I was showing you, the Strike King Baby Rage Menace, the Strike King Baby Rage Craw, and the newest addition to the family, the Baby Rage Bug, are all awesome baits on the back of a jig and have tons of action. But you're right, that Bitsy Bug Craw trailer thing that they make is horrible. You're right about that, Ryan. BJ says, wish I had some of them Megabass little swim baits. They look amazing. For sure. Thinking about getting some more. They also make a different bait that they call the Hazadong shad. And it's got a different profile and is more of a finesse kicker than the Spark shad, which is a little bit more middle of the road or bordering on aggressive action of a kick. Justin says, BJ, thanks. I'm messing with Tyler, but I love to come here and learn more about bass fishing. I'm a beginner bass angler, but I've been fishing my whole life. I stay to learn from Master Tyler. Get out of here, Justin. I ain't no master. But I'm also glad that we've all found a community like this. James says, does the big Spark Shad have a good head shake? Yeah, I'll say it has like a medium head shake. It's got more tail action than head action. If you want a bait with a little bit more head action, throw the mag draft. So James, check out the mag draft, especially in the freestyle. As of right now, they only offer this bait in a 6-inch. So you'll notice compared to the Spark Shad, this tail doesn't even like fall over. And the Spark Shad's tail would fall over all the way to here. I mean, so very different action that you get out of these baits. This one has to be worked a little bit faster for the tail to do its thing. At slow speeds, it will just kind of drag through the water. But at the right speed, it has kind of like a sweet spot speed at a medium fast retrieve. Okay, and you can run it a few feet under the water, fish this kind of like you would a spinner bait, and it has some really good head action to it. So Megabass Mag Draft Freestyle is a great bait to look at. These come 2 to a pack for the same price that you'd pay for one of the standard Mag Draft. I think like 12, 13 bucks, something like that. So for about $6 a bait, plus the hook, that Mag Draft Freestyle is a great bait. Otherwise, that 5-inch Spark Shad is pretty tough to beat, man. Doesn't have a ton of head action, but I don't know how important that is to you. Kind kind of depends. I'd compare the Spark Shad to like the Swing Impact Fat from Kitech. Okay, both really high quality baits, um, pretty salt heavy, but really well poured, great consistency, great action, super soft, and swim well at slow speeds. Justin, never caught a bass before, but I've caught salmon, trout, sand shark, sculpin, right on, and perch. Dude, never caught a bass before though? Interesting. J-Dog, where do you live that you're catching those species specifically? Do you mean sea trout? If you're catching sand sharks and sculpins, what are you, where are you fishing from, man? Yeah, BJ's asking the same question. J Pup, yeah, Puppin, yeah. Been watching the channel, good shit. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for the comment. Okay, Brandon says, how is throwing a 7-inch swim bait, and how frequently are you getting bit or at least striked at? Throwing a 7-inch swim bait is something that requires a little bit of a step up in gear. You can throw, like I switch off, right? I can throw that 6-inch mag draft freestyle on my standard flipping frogging setup, because this thing I think weighs like about an ounce and a half. Yeah, 39 grams. So, we're talking just under an ounce and a half, 1.4. So this is pretty manageable. It's like a heavy swim jig, a heavy chatterbait. It won't overpower a heavy power fast action rod. So I'll throw a 6-inch bait on a heavy rod, and then I will switch gear when I go up to that 7-inch. So when I'm throwing the Kitech 6.8-inch or the Spark Shad in the 7-inch, or even the Optimum Boom Boom swim bait. This is a 6-inch bait, but it's heavier and requires a little bit bigger of a hook. I've got a 9/0 Trocar, half ounce rigged on this. This guy weighs a little over 2 ounces as well. I will throw this on the Dobbins 795 swim bait rod. Just a little bit bigger. It's a medium heavy rod, but is made for lures from like 1 to 5 ounces. So its sweet spot is somewhere in the 2 to 3 ounce range. And so I got it for baits like that, and kind of those mid-sized glide baits like the Storm Arashi glide, and some of the bigger rat baits and things like that I've got. Just kind of those mid-sized swim baits. So throwing them is fine. You do kind of have to lob cast and huck them. It takes a little bit of getting used to throwing heavier baits like that, but it fishes just fine. And I find that bites are obviously lesser than if you're throwing like a 4.8-inch or smaller bait, but I still find that if you're making the right casts and you're picking your spots, that the chances of getting bit are actually pretty high. And it depends on the time of year that you're throwing the big bait, right? Like right now during the pre-spawn, say a week or two before the spawn can be prime time to throw a big bait, just when a fish has feeding up on their mind more than anything, right? Not quite time to prepare the bed, but it is time to get fat and get ready in preparation of losing some weight. So, I find that, you're going to get less bites, but you'll get better bites, and the bites still come more than you would think. You're not going to go out and fish, 4, 5, 10 times in a row, mostly fishing a swim bait and not get bit, unless you're doing something wrong or you're not fishing it in the right places, or you're not switching up the depth at which you're fishing the bait. So anyway, I find that it's totally worth it and something that I want to get into more and more, Brandon. Ryan says, what are your thoughts on the Palmetto Bugs? I've only used the Pit Boss or Craw Fatty the one time I went bass fishing. So, yeah, I don't like the Craw Fatty very much. I like the Pit Boss a lot. And the Palmetto Bugs, I'm still getting used to. I don't love the Palmetto Bugs, but I like them. So here's the thing. It's got a good profile. It's made to be a flipping bait, right? It's got these more dead action claws that will kick and flap a little bit, but it's going to have a very subtle action. So you don't have any side appendages to get you caught up, and you can easily snip off these little side guys here. Now the Palmetto Bugs does have a beaver style body. One side is meant to hide a hook a little bit better, though just burying a flipping hook is probably your best bet than Texas rigging it. Of course, being made of Elastec, super, super durable, but going to be a little bit more tricky to rig. And it only comes in 5 to a pack. Okay, so the value that you get out of these is not tremendous. And unfortunately, these come loose in the package. So they will get folded up over each other. And you might pull them out of the pack and find out that they're already bent up a little bit. So I found that when I first got them, and then I kind of retrained them and set them back in the bag all nice with each other so that they wouldn't get kinked up too bad. But as we've talked about in past videos, that's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, is baits kinking up. And I will say that the Palmetto Bugs are not packaged ideally. They are bound to kink up. And like I said, Elastec is not great to put in hard plastic boxes alone because it will warp the boxes very quickly. So that is a little bit of an issue that I have with the Palmetto Bugs and the Boar Hogs as well from Z-Man. If Riley or Ray were in here right now, they'd say, oh, I'm so surprised that Tyler's got a couple more baits that he's not over the moon about from Z-Man. Hey, guys, there's 16 people in here. Really appreciate you guys watching. There's only two thumbs up right now, though. So could some of you guys go ahead and do me a solid? Hit that thumbs up button. Let me know that you're here watching. And leave a comment if you haven't already, guys. Love to know what it is that you guys are doing tonight. Were you guys watching that crazy live stream from Smallmouth Crush before this, or were you not? Have you been fishing this week or not? Justin says lake trout, not sea trout. Okay, interesting. BJ, what is like a good, cheap, small swim bait to buy? Good question. What is like a good, small, cheap swim bait to buy? There are a ton of options, BJ, okay? Tough to tell you what the best option is for something cheap. But, the three that I always come back to, one I already showed you, is that 3-inch Megabass Spark Shad. That is a good one, but they come like 6 or 7 to a pack, and they're going to be the most expensive. They're close to $1 per bait. Not quite, but close to it. Next up would be the Strike King Rage Slimmer. Really like this 3.25-inch size. 3 1/4. Okay, this is an awesome small size. You could throw it on the back of a swim jig or on the back of a chatterbait, but really a small bait of this size is best as just a finesse swim bait. You put this on a ball head jig or a small jig head that's, you know, an 1/8 ounce and maybe a 2/0 hook in here, and it's ideal. It's going to be just a little bit more effective than a 2.8 inch would be. I find that those 2/8s are really, really tiny in this body style from Kitech and from Rage Tail. So I'll show you the Kitechs real quick. Sorry, I have so many packs of them. So the Kitechs are the originators, and for those of you guys who don't already know this, there are very, very subtle differences. Kitech doesn't have a patent on this swim bait. You take a look at it. Of course, you can't see a great close-up of it, but the ribs on it help displace water, create a little bit more action, and then, of course, that really thin T-shaped tail allows for very, very aggressive action in the coldest of water. So you can crawl, creep this bait in cold water, and move it super slow and get good action out of it. It came onto the market and everybody copied them, right? So here's that Rage Swimmer I was just talking about, just showing you. And you'll notice it looks almost identical. Can you notice many differences? The Kitech's tail is just a little bit longer. The body might be just a little bit narrower. And then the ribs are the one other thing that I noticed. It's slightly less noticeable on this Rage Swimmer, but on the Rage Swimmers, the ribs face forward and not straight up and down. On the Kitech, the ribs are just straight up and down. Okay? That's a very, very small, subtle difference there. Doesn't really make much of a difference to me. One thing that I've noticed is that the Rage Swimmers will sometimes have inconsistency in pouring. You'll see a little bit of leftover plastic attached to the tails, or you'll see them poured just a little bit too big, and so the tails are kinked up in the clamshells. But in general, I find that the Rage Swimmers are still really good, and in general, their deal is they thought they would just knock off Kitech, put one more in the package for the same size. So look, in the Kitechs, you get 7, right? 7 Kitechs in the 3.3 inch size. Rage Swimmers come with, what do you know, 8. Okay? And the price is like $5.99 or $6.99 for these. And this is like $5.99 here. So you save $1 and you get 1 extra bait by going with the Rage Swimmers over the Kitechs. But if you were to look around, listen around, you'll hear 9 times out of 10 that people say the Kitech action is better. The soft plastic is higher quality. The colors are better. The consistency is better. The action is better. It gets bit better, but it's not quite as durable. The Rage Swimmers are made out of a slightly more durable soft plastic, but still has good action on it. So it is what it is. A lot of people would justify the Rage Swimmers just because of the price. The Kitechs aren't durable and they're more expensive, so tougher to justify. But hey, listen, on discounttackle.com, you can get these right about the same price, or the Kitechs even just a little bit cheaper than the Rage Swimmers. So that justification of getting the Rage Swimmers because they're a little cheaper and you get 1 extra in the package, that goes out the window once you shop on Discount Tackle. So if you're looking at getting soft plastic swim baits, I'd recommend that you check out Discount Tackle first. So the Kitech Swing Impact Fat, BJ, would be probably my number one recommendation. Now they do make the 3.8 inch size is probably the most versatile size that they make. Can be used in a ton of different applications. So great finesse swim bait, but also a really great trailer, especially on a swim jig and rigged upside down on a chatterbait as a trailer. Works really well too. Last year they did come out with a saltwater version of the same bait, only in this 3.8 inch size for the fat, or the 4.8 inch or 4-inch size for the standard swing impact, not the fat. And the soft plastic in these is just a little bit more durable. Show you guys this real quick. Probably have before, but here's the standard Kitech. Okay. Look how much that tail falls over. Whoop. How much action we get out of this tail. Pretty wide kick there, right? Then here's this saltwater version. And you can see it doesn't fall over nearly as much as the standard, right? But you still get good action, just a little bit tighter. It's not going to swing quite as wide. So, tougher plastic, same body, same mold. They claim it has the same action, and I can vouch for the fact that it does still have a classic Kitech action. I can't say it's as aggressive, right? But I've had some really good success on that bait rigged on the back of a swim jig. So Swing Impact Fat is probably your best bet when it comes to a cheap-ish soft plastic swim bait. You know, the new kid on the block is this 6th Sense Divine swim baits. These are really good, but they're not a whole lot cheaper. You know, the 3.3 inch size is a good one, and you know that soft plastic is just a little bit stiff for my liking. I would stick to the proven ones. The only other one that I would suggest that you look at, BJ, is the Diesel Minnows by Z-Man, okay? I talk about this one pretty frequently, but the 4-inch and the 5-inch are very, very good baits to consider having in your arsenal, okay? And for different purposes, too. The 4-inch I use more as a trailer. So here's the difference between them. Pretty significant size difference. But the 4-inch is an awesome chatterbait trailer, swim jig trailer, and finesse swim bait. The 5-inch is a little bit big for all of those applications and is better when rigged as a standalone swim bait. So you just take a slightly bigger jig head with something like a 4-aught hook in it, 5-aught hook in it, and rig it as a standalone swim bait, and you get a pretty sweet bait here. These come 4 to a pack, and the 4-inch come 5 to a pack, I believe. And you do pay just a little bit more for a Laztec baits, but these are going to last you a whole lot longer. I mean, you're more likely to lose it to a snag than you are to tear it up after a couple fish catches. So some of these other swim baits, like the Kitech Swing Impact Fat, you catch a good fish or two, and that thing is going to rip, and the head or the hook is going to come straight out. the plastic is going to rip. And if you don't have something like Mend It to fix your plastic and make it good as new again, then you got to toss it out and move on to the next bait, as the marling baits would say. On to the next bait. So, diesel minnows, 5 inches probably my favorite, but it is a relatively sizable bait, you know. It's no joke. So I really like this. This guy is gonna weigh over 3/4 of an ounce, not quite an ounce in total when rigged, but you get great action out of that diesel minnows. Can be fished a lot of different ways too. So I would say either the Kitech Swing Impact Fat or the Z-Man Diesel Minnows would be my 2 bets there. But feel free to send me a message if you've got further questions or I confused you more than necessary during this live chat. So I apologize about that, BJ. Let me get to the other questions here. 3 inches or smaller. Yeah, if you're going for 3 inches or smaller, dude, I would go with just the 3-inch Spark Shad or the 3.3 inch Swing Impact Fat. Brian Waterman, what baitcaster brands do you use? What's your favorite? I use Luz and I use Daiwa for the most part, but I also have a Quantum baitcaster. I've got a couple Shimano baitcasters. I am not brand loyal when it comes to rods and reels. So Daiwa is probably what I would choose if I could only have one, though. Ryan says, love catching lake trout through the ice. All right. Whoops. Ryan says, BJ, I bought some Rage Swimmers in 2.8 inch. They have a nice action, cheaper than Kitech or Jackal. So, see, Ryan, that's what I'm talking about, man. DiscountTackle.com, man. You can get Kitechs for cheaper than you can get Rage Swimmers, and the action is so much better. People get Rage Swimmers just because they're cheaper. But I'm telling you, that's not a good enough reason, especially when you can find a price better. James says, I fished a Boom Boom yesterday. It has a good head swing. Yes, it does, James. That and the Mag Draft Freestyle that I talked about are probably 2 of the swim baits with the best head action that you can rig weedless or however you so choose. Ryan says, so much fun. I ice fish about 5 months a year here in Saskatchewan. Dang, son. It's a lot of ice fishing. Oh, you're close to Montana. Interesting. All right. James says, I've never tried Spike It or JJ's Magic on a Lastec. Wonder if it melts it. You know, I think it does. I don't know that for sure. I know the Procure gel works. You know, some of their baits are actually like marinated in Procure. So I know you can use that stuff, but great question that I actually don't know the full answer to, James. Yeah, Ryan, it did look like a pretty interesting auction over on Smallmouth Crush's channel. He was selling a lot of hats, dude, that he had clearly gotten for free. Was trying to get rid of them for 10 or 20 bucks a pop. That was pretty funny. Brandon said, should I use a 3/8 or a 1/8 ounce bullet weight tomorrow on my chigger cross? I think maybe lighter for a slower fall. Yeah, I would always opt for a lighter weight first, where you're going to get a little bit more action, slower fall, give the fish more time to react to it. Unless you know exactly where they are. If they're tight to cover, then maybe you go with that heavier weight. So the Nutty 0101 says, new to live streams, caught my first smallmouth of the year today. Well, first of all, welcome to the live stream, the Nutty. And second of all, congratulations on your first smallmouth of the year today. I haven't caught my first one of the year yet. Will probably be another few weeks or a month, which is unfortunate, but good for you, man. What'd you catch your first smallie of the year on? Justin, who else had a BLT for dinner? I bet nobody, man. Ryan says, I wish the exchange rate wasn't so awful right now. Yeah, man. I hear you. Brandon says, what makes the Daiwas better than Shimano's in your opinion? And what's the hands down best option at the $100 mark? Okay, Brandon. In my opinion, this is my opinion, Daiwa's reel just a little bit smoother. If you were to close your eyes and you turn the handle of the reel, Shimano's have just a little bit of a very light grinding feel. Like you can feel the gears engaging. It doesn't make any noise, but you can feel it just ever so slightly. When you turn the handle of a Daiwa, especially a higher end one, it is just like a feather. It's buttery. Okay, it's just a little bit different. And I have a couple Shimano's. I've got a cheaper SLX, which I actually really like, and I've got a more expensive Tranks for swim baits. And I've noticed, and I've had a chance to use and try and feel what most of the line feels like. So, the Cerados and pretty much most Shimano's have that same feeling where you can feel the gears just ever so slightly, just a little bit of friction. Even though it might reel super smooth, be really quiet, you can engage it and it will free spool and spin forever. Fine, but it just feels different in the hand. Um, both Shimano's and Daiwas are generally pretty big in the hand. That's one gripe that I have, and one reason that I really like Lose is that they are super palmable, and they generally come at a slightly better price point, and the value is good. I haven't had any Lose break on me, even though they might feel a little bit more plasticky than Shimano or Daiwa. I find that Lose makes a good product for a good price. So I actually have more Lose reels than anything else. But best at the $100 mark, Brandon, I would say good question. Probably the Shimano SLX. Okay. I really like the Lose Speed Spool LFS as well. Both are awesome reels, especially for the money. But I think if I had to choose, I'd go with the Shimano SLX at the $100 mark. BJ, my pleasure. You are welcome, sir. Brian says Daiwa Fuego CT or Daiwa CA80. I can't give you a very expert opinion on that, but I would personally, just based on feeling them, I would go with the Fuego. But I do my research, and I can't help but be influenced by other people, and so there are a couple of high speed spool bearing Instagram pages and folks that I follow who have pretty strong opinions, and Real Clean Reviews and a couple other channels that I know have said really good things about that CG80. So I don't know. I can't tell you, Brian. Sorry to say, man. Trying to get something around $80. That's a pretty tight price point there, man. Don't quite know what to tell you. Brandon, reminding everybody, hit that thumbs up button. There's 18 people in here, 11 thumbs up right now. I bet you half of you have not hit that thumbs up. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button right now if you're hanging out in here, you're having a good time. Or as Ryan says, smash that like button, homies. BJ, welcome to the channel, Nutty. Gosh, I must be way behind on the comments, guys. I'm gonna try and catch up here. Daiwa and Shimano are my brand, says James. Yep. Daiwa Laguna, way smoother than the Shimano Kayas. Better braking system on the Daiwa. Yep. Daiwa Fuego is great for the money. Yep, that was my instinct. Exchange rate sucks. Bouncing a 2.8 Kitech off rocks is the only thing that worked, says the Nutty. Okay. Well, good for you, man. Catching smallies. I'm sure there's a lot of us that are jealous right now. Brian Waterman, Amazon Prime, you can buy both for $80 right now. Let's see. I wish I knew more, man. Brian, I don't want to start making shit up. Tell you something that I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, and I haven't held both reels side by side. Haven't seriously considered making that purchase. Like I said, I've only got a Tatula SV, the older model, and I've got a Tatula 200 TWS for swim baits, lighter swim baits, and then I've got the Exceller spinning rod. But I've mostly just felt and tested out a bunch of the reels, but don't have enough on the water experience with them to be able to tell you what route you ought to go. But like I said, I've read a few things about the Fuego not being quite as good for the money. Now that's been in comparison to other CT reels, and that CG80 I think has just been generally reviewed as slightly better bang for the buck. But if what you're saying is the deal on the Fuego on Amazon is slightly better, then I think the case could be made for either one. So I can't quite tell you which route to go, man. Wish I could. Brandon says, what about the DC Shimano reels? Do you like them? Same deal as those Daiwa reels I was just talking about. I have tried them out. I like them, don't love them. I don't own any, so I don't have a strong opinion about them. I think once you start using them, you have a strong opinion one way or another, right? You either love or hate that sound that it makes. I feel a little bit mixed about the DC chip and the technology in general. I think it's the future of fishing. I think reels in the future are going to be digitally controlled. The Daiwa Tatula SV has a similar braking system in it. The Quantum Smoke PT reel that I have has a similar anti-backlash braking system in it that is just becoming so much more the norm. So I think that sound that it makes, the whizz, is a little bit off-putting to me. I don't know that I'd want to hear that when casting so many damn times over the course of an outing. I don't know that I'd want to hear that every single time. And everybody's got personal preferences, right? Sound is something that factors in when I'm testing out a spinning rod, spinning reel, for example. There are a few key factors that play a huge role to me. One is the feel and sound of when you're actually turning the handle of the reel. Second is the opening and closing of the bail. Is that silent or does it click? Is it loud? And lastly, is actually running the drag and seeing what kind of noise that makes. Those little things are all personal preference, right? I like a silent opening and closing of the bail, and I like a loud peeling of the drag. So I like Daiwa reels much better than Shimano's for that reason. Shimano's make noise click open and closed, and they have kind of like a muted or subtle drag sound to them. Whereas Daiwas tend to be silent on the open and close of the bail and a little bit louder sound when the drag is peeling. So same deal, with DC reels. That sound is something that I know a lot of guys find to be addicting, right? They love the sound, and other guys absolutely hate it. So for those of us who don't own any DC reels, it's hard to say one way or another, but I don't have a strong opinion about it as of now. Looks like Ray and Riley just showed up. What's up, guys? Riley and Ray, happy Friday night to you. Hope you're doing well. BJ says he loves the DC sound. Yeah, not surprised. You either love it or you hate it, right? Ray, you checked 3 times and I wasn't streaming. I did hop on late tonight, right? Um, Almost an hour later than normal. So I had kids that weren't quite willing to go to bed, and then I was watching Smallmouth Crush and his ridiculous live stream auction, and just kind of dilly dallying, trying to clean up and organize some stuff upstairs before coming down here and starting the stream. So sorry for the late stream and the lack of notifying you guys and all of that, but no worries, you didn't miss much, man. We're just hanging out, um, shooting the you know what. So hope y'all are doing well this evening. I talked to Riley yesterday. Riley called me from Academy like she said she was going to. Was looking at the jackhammers. Got my hopes all up that they might have some fire craws, and wah wah. No fire craw jackhammers at Academy. They had pretty much every other color in stock, which is cool. But no fire craws. So Riley, did you end up buying anything at Academy? You said you were going to get some line, um, maybe a couple choppos. What'd you end up getting? Yo, Ray and Riley, hit that thumbs up button, by the way. BJ says, I missed out on the giveaway, but like I told Tyler, I'm a winner from all I learned from him and you guys and gals. Hey, Ryan, what's your PB rainbow trout? Says Justin. Dude, I've landed like a 29, 30-inch rainbow. About 10 pounds. Ray says 5G coming to a reel near you. Big brother wants to watch you 24/7. Yeah, man. PB Rainbow is 5.5 pounds. Got it through the ice this year. Sight fishing in 4 feet of water. That's awesome. 16-inch square cutout to watch him bite. That's very cool, Ryan. Congrats on that catch. That's super cool. Wish you had a GoPro to film that, man. That'd be fun to have some of those memories on film. Ray says, and the dang Zako in orange came back in today at discount. Yeah, it did. It's actually in my cart right now. I didn't have a notification on that, but I didn't know it was out of stock before. I just had added it to my cart. I'm about to make my monthly purchase from Discount Tackle. I've got like 3 or 4 carts filled. I mentioned this last time we were talking, guys. That Bass Pro sale is still going on with Rage Tail products. So I've still got that cart filled up, but I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger on it. I've got a cart at Tackle Warehouse right now. Filled up with those Guggen baits I was talking about. The new Guggen baits soft plastics. They just released junior sizes of the trench hog, the bandito bug, and the kraken craw. And they're like cool sizes, like 3.3 inch for the bandito bug and the kraken craw, and something like a 3 or a 4.6 inch trench hog. So I'm actually really curious to see those and try them out. I was going to get 2 packs of each of those, and then a couple more packs of those quiver worms from Missile Baits, since some of those cool colors are back in stock. And then that bait that we were talking about last week, the chase baits flip flop. I said I think they're a little bit gimmicky, but it's that beaver style bait with the squid like extra plastic on the outside of the body, so it like flutters as the bait's falling. It's called the flip flop. I was gonna get a couple packs of that, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna pull the trigger on that. I also filled up a cart over at Carl's Bait and Tackle. I don't belong over at Shop Carl's, but at some point I'm gonna do a free trial, for a month to just save the money and make a couple purchases and then quit so that I don't get charged the $50. Because Carl's Bait and Tackle, their deal is that you pay $50 for a year. It's kind of like a Costco membership, right? You pay a one-time fee for $50, like Amazon Prime, and then you get 30% off of everything all year long, which is a pretty cool deal. Discount Tackle, there is no membership. You just save 20% like all the time. Um, but Shop Carl's, you can save 30% on a lot of different baits. So that's pretty cool. And I was considering buying, let's see what's in that cart right now. A lot of like Biospawn. I've never tried that Vile bug. Biospawn makes the Vile craw, and I really like it, but was considering getting the Vile bug. And so, I don't know, I had like a whole bunch of those and some of the Biospawn Exo Swims and the Exo Sticks, a few other things, but looks like that cart has now cleared out. And I don't know that it makes sense to go through with that right now either. So, Discount Tackle is the last one that I've got a cart filled out with and am going to pull the trigger on in the next day. So, anyway, that's a little bit of a mixed bag. Mostly soft plastics right now, though. A couple things I need to load up on, get new colors of. So, as I was telling you last week, I make a point to go on Discount Tackle and see like what they've gotten in new recently, and think about getting them, because usually new products that they put on are better deals. So like the Missile Baits D Bomb was recently put up there, and it's on sale. Um, so I'm gonna get some of the D Bomb and the D Bomb Junior or the Baby D Bomb, because I actually haven't tried those flipping baits and know that they're some of the OGs. Another color of the Magnum Menace from Strike King. Another color of the Reaction Innovations Man Bear Pig. A couple of the Missile Baits Ned Bombs. And the Zoom Magnum Finesse Worm I was telling you guys about. My favorite Nico Rig worm. Gonna get a couple of new colors of it. The Lifted Jigs Ned EWGs came on to Discount Tackle, and they're pretty much all sold out already. They just have some in the white that I was going to pick up a pack of. And then the new Gambler eel bait. I actually don't know if it's new or not, but it's a really wild looking bait. It's an 8-inch worm that's just tapered down. They call it the Gambler eel ribbed single tail soft plastic trailer. So looks pretty cool, but they're relatively expensive. I think you get 8 in a pack, and they're like $6. That's after saving a little bit. So just wanted to check those out, try them. And a pack of the Zoom Super Flukes in the lavender shad color. So just mixing it up a little bit, mostly soft plastics. But let me address what it is that you guys are saying, and then we can keep the conversation going. Looks like you guys are congratulating Ray. What happened? Uh, do, 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 do. Yeah, man, you're not getting the hookup on those fire craws, Ray. Sorry about it. George N. Buy a Huddleston. They slap. Cut my PB last spring. Good for you, George. Buy a Depths 250 or a Clash 9. Okay, George, take it easy, man. Big baits or nothing. All right, that's an appropriate series of comments there, George. Sounds like you're a big bait guru, homie. Good for you. Ray says, P.S. Seen a Whopper Plopper 75 for $9. I don't fish them, but I think that's good. Yes, it is. That's a great deal. Justin says, Ryan, that's a massive fish. What is? Oh, Ryan was talking about the world record. Yeah. George, just kidding. I still love swim jigs. All right, George. You're funny, bro. BJ, I've caught big fish on small baits. Absolutely. George thinks like me. No sissy baits. I'm in Texas. Yeah, James. Good for you guys. Ray says, Ryan, congrats, bro. Caught my first MPB rainbow last year. Did it on a fly, but it was fishing on a farmer's pond in Wisconsin. We didn't mention that part. George and James bonding over the big baits. BJ says, want to say thanks to all of you guys and gals. I've learned from you all. Right on, BJ. Riley says, oh yeah, I don't answer your question last stream about why I'm going to Texas. I'm going to see my family with my last name and my dad. I'll be there from mid-May to August. Dang, Riley, good for you. What part of Texas are you going to be living in? Racist, go back. Oh. Whatever. We talked about the Packers one time already. James Barone, 17-pound mono is finesse to me. Get out of here, bro. Caught a 10-10 last March on a depths 175. Congratulations, James. That is a donkey. 10-10. So, James, what percentage of the time are you throwing big-ass baits, man? I'm always curious to know because, you know, we've all got an evolution of fishing, whether it's fishing in general or bass fishing specifically. And we kind of evolve from first picking it up and getting hooked ourselves, getting obsessed with the sport, and then wanting to accumulate as much knowledge as possible and learn as many different ways to catch fish, learn how to catch as many fish as possible, learn how to catch the biggest fish as possible, and then we kind of like hone in and get specialized in one or two areas of fishing. So when I talk to guys like you who are big bait fishermen, I find that fascinating, right? I'm still very much in the like learn everything, you know, how to catch them on every which lure, you know, when it's best to throw one versus another, and how to catch as many fish as possible. I usually don't go out with just one or two techniques. I'm trying to learn and hone the skills at the same time. Jay Papanya, throw a fritzide in their face. I hear you, man. I haven't thrown that fritzide yet, but I hear it's good. Ryan, never tried fly fishing. It's on the bucket list, though. Ryan, you got to try some fly fishing, man. It doesn't have to be on the bucket list. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get into fly fishing. Pretty sure you can buy some fly fishing rods and reels for pretty cheap. You could get a good little 6-weight rod and a cheap reel for, you know, $100 or something like that, and not have to spend a ton of money to get in. BJ says Ryan said he caught his PB rainbow trout 5.5 pounds. Yes, he did. James, 11.2 is my PB. I usually always use big baits. Been bass fishing more than 50 years. Dang, James. That is a long time to be fishing, and good for you on the 11 too. Usually throwing big baits. I hear you. Riley says, LOL, Port O'Connor mostly, but also Victoria, Ganado. I actually don't know any of those parts of Texas. BJ, that's why we were saying congrats to Ryan. Yeah, on that 5.5 pound trout. It's a big fish, yo. Ryan, do you know the length of that trout, by the way? What did that come in at? George, went from frogs to swim baits and haven't really looked back. Have no idea what I'm doing. Just want the big girl. My man, George. I hear you. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, eventually you just get into being laser focused, wanting to spend all your time catching them a very specific way. And I totally get that mindset. I'm not exactly that way right now. I'm very obsessed with different ways of catching them. And, I like bigger baits. This right here, I find to be a cool little, um, you know, I'm really fascinated by the power finesse category, um, in like hybrid lures. And so this 5.8 inch Kitech to me is a really nice middle ground size of a bait that's not too big, but also not a small bait, right? Um, though I do like that 6.8 inch size as well, and some of those 7 inch swim baits I was talking about earlier. Ray says, started soul soothing. Did it in salt before moving out to Florida. Taught myself. Yeah, man, fly fishing it's just a little bit different, right? Different of a sport. Everything that goes into it, from the presentation, the cast to the focus required throughout a cast, so different. Dick says, little off topic. Any super small finesse paddle tails you recommend? All right, Dick. When you say super small, what do you mean? I've already talked about the 3-inch Megabass Spark Shad, which I think is a killer 3-inch soft plastic bait. I also really like the Diesel or the Z-Man Minnows in the 3-inch. If you want to go smaller than 3 inches, Kitech makes the Easy Shiner in a 2-inch. I personally don't throw any swim baits smaller than 3 inches. And Z-Man makes a Slim Swims in 2 different sizes, like a 2.5 inch and a 3 inch. And that's actually a pretty good finesse swim bait as well. So depends on what you mean by super small, man. Ray says lefty TFO rod setup. Right on. Good for you, man. Temple Fork Outfitters. That is something I am interested in trying at some point in the next year or two. George says I'm throwing bigger baits 90% of the time, or I'm throwing a swim jig. Ray says reading ton for 9 weight for big old tarpon. Geez, that's ridiculous. Yeah, Reddington 9 weight for big old tarpon. That's crazy. Ryan says I'll have to try it out. My cousin wants me to go for brook trout on his ranch. We're gonna start at a trout pond on my friend's farm. Yeah, brook trout are absolutely gorgeous, man. They're prettier than rainbow trout by a long shot. A little bit more similar to brown trout, but the coloring on them is just really cool. Very fragile fish, though. You got to be careful with how you handle them. And when starting to fish for trout, if I were you, I'd consider pinching down the barbs on your hooks. James says, I just want to target bass 7 pounds and up. Something to get the adrenaline flowing. Yeah, but do you not get the adrenaline flowing when you set the hook into a 3, 4, 5 pounder and you think it's a 7 pounder, man? Jay Pupinya. I have a stupid amount of swim baits. Always resort back to what catches 20. Your thoughts? Uh, yeah, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Um, Papanya. What I also have an absurd amount of swim baits, right? And there are more over there that I think don't deserve a place on the wall, right? Made by Bass Pro Shops and Eco Pro Tungsten, and and another number of other brands. But then I've got Optimum and Jackal and Megabass and Beast Coast, Megabass, Kitech, Strike King, and Z-Man, and Scottsboro Tackle swim baits. There's a lot of different swim baits to throw. I think it's it's tough, right? We all resort back to what we have confidence in, and for me, it is still the Kitech, um, most of the time, if we're being honest. As much as I want to really, really get into um, the Beast Coast, it's been in waves for me. The Spark Shad in the 5 inch from Megabass has been one that I've really, really come to liking. Um, so yeah. Anyway, it's tough to say, right? I agree that we all kind of do resort back to what we know works best and what we've got the most confidence in. This is the Rainbow Shad color from Kitech. It's a natural color pattern with just the right amount of flash in it, and I think it's really hard to beat. So yeah, that's the one that I keep coming back to time after time. I like it in the 4.8 and the 5.8 inch if I'm throwing swim baits. So you say you resort back to the baits that catch 20, not your big swim baits. Yeah, no, and I agree, right? If for some reason those of us who um, throw swim baits have baits in the 4 inch, the 5, 6, 7 inch range, and then some bigger, and we all know that a 5 inch bait, a 6 inch bait are going to catch numbers and size. A 3 and 4 inch bait is going to catch numbers over size, and a 7, 8, or 9 inch bait is going to catch size and not numbers. So you pull out a big ass bait. This is the Megabass Mag Slow in the 9 inch, and you pull out a huge bait like this, and you throw it for a little while, right? And in what happens when you don't get any followers? You get no action on it. Well, an hour or two in, your brain starts racing and you start thinking, well, I do have a couple other options that I brought with me. Let me just try throwing this one for a minute. So I feel like with big baits, you have to either commit or not. You got to tie it on and bring it and commit to throwing it. And when you don't get the bites, you move on to the next spot and you just keep fishing it until you get bit. But to have the downsize option to go from that 9 inch bait to this 6 inch bait and know that the odds of you getting bit and the odds of that hookup being just right when you do get bit going way up means you're gonna come back to this bait all the time. So yeah, I think that's something that pretty much all swim bait fishermen have dealt with and struggle with if they're bringing stuff with them. George says, yeah, you've got the right swim baits behind you. Appreciate that, George. Ryan says, Ray, you need to try for lake trout ice fishing at least once. Catching them in 120 feet of water, even the small 5 pounder, take 5 to 10 minutes to get through the hole. Yeah, that's something that's on my bucket list too. Just up in the mountains here, an hour and a half to 2 hours west and north of here is where I've got some private property and some fishing, uh, great fly fishing on the Colorado River, but it butts up to Granby Lake and Grand Lake here in Colorado, where there's some epic lake trout fishing. So I haven't actually been lake trout fishing up there, but need to go. And I know that during the winter, it is epic. They've still got like 2 feet of ice on the water up there right now. So something that I need to do for sure, Ryan. James says Kitex are proven tournament baits. Scottsboroughs are great too. Yep. George says the Kitex got me hooked on swim baits. Yep. I think that's probably true for most of us. Ray says, Tyler, I found a Megabass bait in my shed today. It looks like a real bluegill. Like those crazy big jointed things y'all throw. Not sure where I got it. Still in the package. That's cool, Ray. What's it called? The Megabass what, man? Jay Puppanya says, I've been catching them like you. Your content. What do you say? You've been catching them like your content? I appreciate that. And Justin, no worries. You had to leave, but you're back. So that's all that counts. You don't have to type in all caps, by the way, man. Comes across as a little aggressive. Ray says, I keep throwing Kitex and Rage Swimmers and Little Dippers and Skinny Dippers and every color of 6 cents paddle tails and nothing. Well, yeah. Stick to Kitex instead of Rage Tails or Skinny Dippers or Little Dippers or 6 cents Divine swim baits, and rig it on an exposed jig head. Okay, like this. Chances are it's going to be a smaller bait, right? You're going to have a 3.8-inch bait on a little exposed jig head. Like this guy. Here's a 5.8. Here's a 3.8. Just for size reference. Pretty crazy difference. 3.8 will catch him good. Now, I think this is a 3/0 hook. 3/16 ounce Gamakatsu round ball jig head. That 1/8 ounce 2/0 hook works well too. But slow roll it, Ray. Okay? That's probably what you're dealing with most, is you're just fishing it too fast. A bait like the Kitex has a pretty aggressive action. So does the Rage Swimmer, Skinny Dipper. Most of these baits that you're throwing are paddle tails with pretty wide swinging action. So, if you're swimming it on a straight retrieve, my guess is that you're fishing it too fast, and that's why you're not getting bit. So I would creep it. Tempt yourself to fish slower and see if you don't get any bites, man. Downsize and slow down. Jay Puppanya, I've been catching them on a Biffle Bug and some Z-Man Cross. Real talk. Okay, man. Cool. Biffle Bug is one that I actually don't fish really, don't have many of. I think it's an interesting bait. Bit more of a specialty bait, of course, but really cool. I take it you've been throwing that on a hard head, swing head, wobble head type of jig. And when you say Z-Man Craws, what bait are you referring to, man, specifically? Because I have most of the Z-Man baits, and I'd be curious to know which one it is that you're talking about that you've been catching them on. Ryan says, I start shivering at any temp below 80 degrees. Don't know if I can handle it. Ryan, Tyler, make sure you drill 2 10-inch holes side by side. In case you get a 30-plus incher, you'll be able to get them on top of the ice. Interesting. Didn't think about that. He says, Tyler, I can't remember, but I can get back with you. Still in the shed. No worries. So you're using 3.2s. Small swim baits. But my guess is you're just swimming them too fast. James says, I wish I could find Megabass just laying around in my shed. Dave Dalton, what's up, man? He says, rig it on a cool bait underspin. Yeah, underspin would be a good way to go, Ray, for sure. Whether you're going to throw it weedless or not, a standard underspin. Cool Baits makes one with the Swimbait head with an exposed hook and that blade. But like we talked about last week, of course, you could get the Pro Point Lures underspin blades and something like the 6 Sense Divine Swimbait head, and you've got a little bit more option there, and it's more affordable to build yourself anyway. But an underspin is a great option of just standing out a little bit more, getting the fish's attention. But slow roll at first. You've already downsized. Ryan says, Ray, me and two buddies did 24 hours of ice fishing. It was warm in the shack. It was minus 20 Celsius overnight, so we didn't go outside much. Good for you. 24 hours of ice fishing. That's pretty wild. Pretty cool. I've seen those challenges and such. Jay Poppinia said the wobblehead. Yep, for sure. Z-Man, I'm throwing weedless net heads. No, man. Z-Man is the brand. All of these are Z-Man. But what craw are you? Weedless net heads. So my guess is you're talking about this bait here. This is the TRD craws. And you're probably throwing it on this head right here. It's called the Finesse Bullets jig head. Sits like this at a 45. That is a killer bait, if that's the one that you're talking about. So I'm not sure if we're ever going to get around to talking about the topic that was, does it count as a Ned rig? Because we're already 2 hours into streaming, and I'm probably not going to hang around too much longer, but let me try to catch up with these comments. Ryan says, Tyler, watch Clayton Schick outdoors. He's from Saskatchewan. He's got some big Lakers through the ice. I've learned lots from him for ice fishing. He and the flasher cam. What? The flasher cam is handy for education. Yeah, okay, I'll check him out, man. What'd you call him? Clayton Schick. Hey, Ryan, do you follow me on Instagram, Ryan? If you wouldn't mind, send me a message on Instagram or here on YouTube. You could even leave a comment on this video. Not in the live chat where you're commenting now, but in the comment section down below the video. And just remind me to look up that dude, Clayton Schick, because I probably won't remember to do that. I don't have anything to write. Actually, I'll try to remember this. Clayton Schick Outdoors. But thanks for the suggestion, man. Ray says, I lost my underspin, so I ordered a fishing magnet. Got it back, but not because of the stupid rip-off Amazon magnet, because the rope snagged the tree it was in. That is hilarious. Ryan says, nope, don't have Instagram, just have Twitter. Weird. I feel like both of those profiles or both those platforms came out around the same time. So to only have Twitter but no Instagram is interesting. I'm actually the opposite. I've only had an Instagram but never a Twitter. So to each his own, you know, each platform is a little bit different, but came out around the same time. So, you know, we're going to skip the topic tonight that was talking about the Ned rig because we could talk about it for a long time. Essentially what I wanted to talk about is just how baits have evolved, right? Originally, it was the Z-Man Finesse TRD on the Z-Man Finesse Shrooms jig head. Light jig head on a small 3-inch or smaller soft plastic bait that is high floating. Ned Cady started the technique by using the Z-Man Zinkers, which is a sinking soft plastic stick bait. It's 5 inches, and he would cut them in half and thread them onto a Gopher is the brand, Gopher tackle, and mushroom style jig head. So the dude lives in Kansas, was using those baits so frequently and found that the more he would use them, the more stretched out that they would get, the more buoyant they became. So he contacted Z-Man, partnered up with them to create the Finesse TRD, and then they created the mushroom style jig head, and together called it the Ned Rig, named after Ned Katy. Now since then, Z-Man has created like 10 other baits that fit into this TRD category of Z-Man baits, or of Ned Rig baits. So Z-Man has like 10 baits specifically made for the Ned Rig, and now almost every bait or every company that pours their own soft plastics has a Ned Rig style bait. So I literally have 20, 30 Ned Rig baits right now that fit that same size and can work with the same size and weight of hook. But the profile of the bait has evolved to where you get crawl profiles, creature baits, swim baits, and worms. And now you're getting different plastics and you're getting bigger baits too. So the profile in terms of the action has changed, and now the size is also changing. So the weights are getting heavier, the baits are getting bigger. And my question is, does that still count as a Ned Rig? Hey, Justin, you have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for hanging out. Good to see you as always. Enjoy your weekend, man. Happy Easter. So it's mostly this bait here that got the conversation started. And this is the opposite end of the spectrum, right? This right here is the Z-Man Giant TRD. This is a 6-inch bait. So do you remember the size difference between this Kitech 5.8 and 3.8? This 5.8 is a big bait, right? Look at this worm. The worm is the same size. This is a giant soft plastic worm, and it is fat. I don't know if you've ever held a Gary Yamamoto 7-inch Senko, but they are huge. And this is fatter around than that 7-inch Senko in the middle. Not by much, but it is. And so this bait is essentially just an upsized version of the Finesse TRD. They make one called the Big TRD, and it is bigger. But they make this one now, and it is giant. And they call it the Giant for a reason. So, let me show you what this looks like once it's rigged up, because it is wild. Okay, not a perfect rigging job, but it happens. So this is a weedless Ned style head, mushroom style jig head. I think this is a 3/16 or maybe a 1/4 ounce weight. So you do have a heavier weight than would be typical. Like I said, I use a 1/10 ounce most of the time on a standard Ned rig. I do like a 1/16 ounce, but this being a 3/16 or a 1/4 is obviously heavier, but the bait is 6 inches in length. This is a much bigger bait. More than twice the size of a regular TRD, but it is still buoyant and stands straight up. And this hook is a 6/0. You can see how it doesn't even cover half the bait. This is appropriately sized, and it's a 6/0. So absolutely crazy. James Barron, yeah, I'm not surprised you like this. This is a baitcaster size Ned rig right here. So question is this a Ned rig? Can you still call it a Ned rig? Because that kind of changes the definition of what a Ned rig is, right? I would normally define a Ned rig as a lightweight jig head affixed to a 3-inch or smaller soft plastic, all of a sudden you've doubled it in size. We're using a jig head. Instead of a size 1 hook, it's got a 6/0. Instead of a 1/16 ounce weight, this is a 1/4. Instead of a 2 3/4 inch bait, you've got a 6-inch. This is literally a giant TRD. Literally a giant Ned rig. This hook is literally a mag finesse shrooms jig head. So I don't know. I feel mixed about it. And I also feel fascinated about it. And I plan to throw it quite a bit this year. I've got this bait in 2 colors, 3 colors. Copper Truce for a bright color. I've got a green pumpkin Goby for kind of a do everything. And then I've got the yoga pants for when I don't want flash, or I've got super clear water. Yoga pants is just a straight black color. So anyway, Jay Puppanya, out of here. Hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight and for participating in the stream. Ray says, Tyler, which hook is the one you can Texas rig with the Ned? Want to try that one. George N., how often are you streaming? I love the stories and conversations. Once or twice a week is typical for me. My wife works as a nurse, and she works nights, and she works part-time. 2 shifts a week is her average. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 1. Usually 2 shifts, and most of the time I will hop on here and stream and hang out for a little bit after putting my girls to bed, as I did tonight. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and sometimes I find it easier to just hop on, hang out, answer questions, shoot the shit about baits and about gear than it is to plan, script, film, record, edit a video about a specific topic. So recently, for the last couple of months, I've been streaming at least once, if not twice a week. So keep an eye out for that, George. Make sure you do subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can join in next time. Ray says, no, that's not Ned fishing anymore. That's just a Senko on a shaky head, in your opinion. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, man. And James says, Nichols makes a very heavy-duty Ned head. Yeah, the Nichols Toadstool, or it's the JT Magnum whatever head, JT Kenny. So he's throwing that with a Gambler Fat Ace cut in half. Again, I think that's arguably not a Ned rig when you're using a heavyweight head, that's a 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, and you're putting it on a fat, big bait. So I feel mixed about that. Ray, here's the answer to your question. This is the Lifted Jigs Ned EWG. EWG style hook on a mushroom style jig head. They make this in a few different sizes. Most of them, the colors and sizes, are sold out on Discount Tackle right now, but you can find them everywhere else. It's been getting more and more popular as of late. It's got a VMC 1/0 hook in there. Awesome size. Light wire, but strong hook. Lifted Jigs, Ned EWG. BJ, Tyler is the world's greatest dad and husband. Way to go, Tyler. You're my hero. Hey, too nice of you to say, BJ. Guys, I'm going to dip out of here. I've got to go to the bathroom. I've got to pee pretty bad. And we've been on here for 2 hours and 10 minutes, so it is pretty late here my time. And I got to dip. So appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. It's been super fun. As always, if you haven't already somehow subscribed to the channel, please do that. Hit the thumbs up on this video. Look out for a future stream coming up in the next week or so. I'm going to contact Ron about the giveaway winnings and figure out what to do with the other giveaway. Otherwise, look out for any future videos and for a stream coming soon. Have a good rest of your night. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye.